anyways, today is not going to be an easy one or less awkward than the other ones. It's actually going to be probably a little bit more than that. But one day, I was I lived in a small town, and I talked a lot, and I was loud. So during the summer or spring break or whatnot, and I was homeschooled during the summer or something like that, my mom would just be like, "Go outside." Like you have your parents, like you're like, and you're inside the house, and you're like binging off the wall. You're like boing, 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 and your mom's just like, "Go outside. I don't care what you do, just go outside," right? And so I went outside, right, and I biked all over our neighborhood. It was a nice neighborhood and stuff like that. Nothing too serious there. And so I had a friend that lived. I had a friend, and I'm like, his name was Daniel Cooper. And Daniel Cooper and I did a lot together. And he lived out more towards the country, and I lived in the middle of the town at this point. And so I decided, like, I asked my mom, like, "Hey, is it all right if I bike to his house?" And it was a long trek. Like, I was in middle school, and it was like still like a long ways out. I'd like leave the town and kind of just hit the country. But I've been to his house most of the time, so I knew how to get there. It was a pretty straight path. And she's like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, you can go ahead. Just get out of my house." And so I was like, "Sweet." So I hop on my bike, and I'm biking, and I'm biking up his house to his house. And to my horror, I realized that this is like he lives on a hill up both ways. Like, I'm going to bike up a hill, and then I get done with that hill, and then there's another mountain, and then I get done with that mountain, and then there's another mountain, and I'm biking up there, and like at this point, like I know that we live in Florida, and there's not as many like hills here, but it kind of reminds me of if you ever have you ever walked or biked that like the trail right behind the church here? Have you ever gotten into Winter Springs where like you have that bridge? Anybody know what I'm talking about? That huge bridge, and you just come up to it and you're like, "Why in the world did they make it this steep?" Like, it's just like they're like, "Bridge," and it's like, "Ah!" And you're like, they had all this land and they made it like incline of 1,000, and like you're like, "Ah!" And so like that's what I felt like it was for like miles, right? And the only thing that got me through it, as I was biking like this, and it got to the point where like I probably could just get off my bike and like walk faster. Have you ever been like this and you're like, "What's the point?" And like the only thing that got me like to the top of the hill was the fact that I knew when I would go home, guess what? I get to go down that hill, man. I get to like, like just fly down that hill. Right? And so I finally get up to his house. We do crazy things like, I don't know, like burn things and like when I went to Daniel's house, there was always something like gross that we did. Like we played baseball with a dead squirrel once. It was like middle school, yeah, like he was like, "Go throw me that squirrel. I'm going to hit it with this lead pipe. It's going to be awesome." Squirrel. And so like and so we got to the point where like we got to the point where we wanted to go play tennis, and I never played tennis before, and he was talking to me about it. And so he didn't like go out on the road too often much because it was a little bit more busier of a road. And so he didn't go out on biking on there, but we like talked his mom into letting us go, and she said, "Well, I'll drive behind you guys a little bit later to make sure you guys get there okay," and stuff like that. And so like I am just like super excited, like and like, listen guys, I gotta show him how to bike on the road. You know what I'm saying? Because this guy, like, he doesn't bike the road. I bike the road. I'm the street guy. Do my streets, like. And so like I get on my bike, I'm like, and like we start biking, and like, as cool as you can be as a chubby middle schooler on a bicycle, man, you could roll me out the door. And so like I'm biking down this hill, I'm like, ah! I'm like, yeah, shoom, yeah, like, zoom, zoom, zoom. I'm like, I must be going like 50 miles per hour. I was probably going like 20, 25 because I had a little speedometer on there, and I thought it was really cool. Like, I'd try to hit a school zone and be like, I'm going to speed. And so, like, I'm biking, I'm flying down, right? And we get to this bridge. This huge, like, and in New York, it's not like you get to like a bridge with a creek here, and it's like, oh, the water's 1 foot below us. No, it's like, oh, look at there, 20 feet down is a little cavern. So that's what we're doing, right? And so it's springtime. So it's after all the snow melted, that white substance from the sky raining down, suppressing everybody. And so it's after the snow, and in New York, they salt the roads, and by the springtime, it's just nasty on the edge of the road, right? And so I'm flying down on this nasty gravel on this pavement, and so I hit the bridge. Not like, ow, bridge. No, I'm like going across the bridge, and I look down into the creek, and I see 2 girls in bathing suits. And they were facing the other way, and whatever. And I'm looking at the girls, right? And I gotta be cool. I'm like this. And I'm like, remember that I'm going, shoom. I'm like, and I passed the bridge. Somehow I didn't fall off the bridge. Thank you. That's why I'm still here. But I'm like this. And I passed the bridge, and instead of going like, oh, okay, all right, like back to the 25 miles per hour, I passed the bridge, and I'm going like, I need to be cool. My friend's behind me, right? I'm going like this. And then all of a sudden, I am in the air. I have been launched, and I'm like, I was doing this, and then all of a sudden I was doing this. And I'm flying, I'm like, and in that time, my whole life paused, and it was just like paused in midair, and a lot of thoughts came to mind. The first thought was, cool. I am like soaring through the air. The second thought is, how am I going to explain this one to my mother? And the third thought is, this is going to really hurt, right? And then I just bought my brand new bike, so I look back I remember looking back like this as I'm flying back, and I see my brand new bike crumpled on a mailbox, just like, and the mailbox is like this, and I'm like, oh, that stinks. And so this is all while I'm flying through there. I hit the road, like, poof, and I'm sliding, right? And I look, and now I'm on the ground, right? And I'm sliding, and I look to my left, there's pavement, and I'm like, I don't want to fly on that. And then I look at where I'm flying. I'm like, great, I'm in the pavement and the gravel. That's never good. And then literally this far away from me was green, luscious grass. And I was like, really? Really? I couldn't have hit the really? Like, I didn't hit that? Really? And so, and then it dawned on me, like, what am I going to tell my mother, right? Like, I went back. I'm like, this is kind of cool, and this is going to hurt, right? And so, I get, and as I'm sliding, I hear someone, my friend's coming at me full speed ahead behind me. And he, I'm telling you, he flies past me this close, like, and I'm like, whoa, he's going quick. And I get up, and I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm going to have to explain this to my friend's parents. And so I get up, and I'm like, oh, my hand, I can't remember which hand it is. My hand had a hole in it like this. My wrist had a hole in it like that. My elbow was banged up. I was wearing my helmet, safety first. And so, I get up, and I'm like, ah. And then, 2 minutes later, so Daniel comes over. He's like, oh, and I'm like, oh, there was a bunny. Save the bunny. And then I saw the girls walking across the street, and I was like, no, they didn't even notice I was there. And this lady comes bursting out of her house, right? Just frantic. And I was like, oh, great. a great citizen is seeing if I'm okay, that I didn't die. I'm so happy that there's good people in the world. And she just starts screaming, is my mailbox okay? Is my mailbox okay? And I'm like, lady, I just hit it with my bike. And I thought that, but like I was like, you want me to fix it? And I was like, tears are running down my face. I'm like, and she's like, you're all right. So she goes in, and then like my parents pick me up, like, cause like I'm done. My parents pick me up, and I'm like riding alone in the car, and it's like that quiet. And she like that's just the worst. Like there's been a couple times in my life where it's just like, I did something bad, and I don't want to do it. But I feel like my parents know. What should I do? And so like I'm like, and then my mom's like, so what happened? And I told him the whole story. My dad laughs hysterically because he's like, seriously, right? But here's the thing. So we're going to be answering two questions. We're going to be answering two questions this series. We're going to be answering two questions this lesson. And the first one is why, like, you might be sitting in here, you've been sitting here every single Wednesday, listening to about sex, listening about how you need to be pure, listening to how you shouldn't watch porn, listening about all this different things, and you might be thinking to yourself, why does this matter to me? I'm a good kid. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't dabble in that things. I'm a good person. Why does it matter to me? We're going to be answering that question. And the second question we're going to be answering is, and I hear this one all the time. And the high school ministry is doing a Q&A right now, and this is one of the questions on there, or a question like this. And it's this. If it doesn't hurt anyone, why can't I do it? Like, no matter what it is, when it comes to this stuff, if it doesn't hurt anybody, why is it wrong to do? Or is it wrong to do if it's not hurting anyone or harming anyone? So those are the two things that we're going to be looking at. And we're going to be looking at 2 Samuel chapter 11. 2 Samuel chapter 11. My styrofoam water cup thing is on the thing. Can you get that for me? Thanks, Charles. You're the best. All right, let's focus. So we're in 2 Samuel chapter 11. And here we have King David. Now, David he's described as a man after God's own heart. Right? If you want to be described as something, you would want to be described as, or you want to achieve a description of a woman after God's own heart, or a man after God's own heart. But we're going to see here that even David fell into sin a lot of times. Now, in chapter 11, verse 1, it says that it was the springtime of the year, and it was the time where the kings would go out to battle. And David sent Jacob and his servants with the rest of the army of Israel, and they went in to fight their enemies. So this starts the scene right here. David's king. He's supposed to be out with the army fighting the battles that needs to be fought, but he's not. He's at his house. Then in verse 2 it says this. It happened late one afternoon when David arose from his couch and was walking on the roof of the king's house. That he saw from the roof a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. Okay, here's the thing. So we ask the question, why does this matter to me? I'm a good person. I don't do those things. But just like how I was on a bike going down a path, going down a hill, looking to where I was, my mindset got a little bit cocky and my eyes wandered where they weren't supposed to go. And I hit a mailbox, right? But just as you're going down a path, you are going to have times in your life where these things are going to happen to you. You're going to get you're going to be asked to look at porn. You're going to be asked to date someone that you don't want to date. You're going to be asked to go too far with your boyfriend or girlfriend. They're going to push you to where you don't feel comfortable. Someone's going to text you that you don't know. Someone's going to say something inappropriate. Someone's going to see where you are sexually to see if they can get farther with you. Someone's going to lie to you so they can get their way, or you are going to do the same, or you're going to want to do that. See, you have to put yourself in a situation where you put guards in your life, where you put a path where you're going to say, no matter what happens, I am not going to let my eyes wander off the path, the direction of the road of where I'm going. If I thought in my mind when I was starting the bike ride and I said to myself, whatever happens, I need to make sure that one, I am safe, one, that I'm watching my surroundings, and one, that I am not distracted by things around me, I wouldn't have sinned by looking and lusting. I wouldn't have hit that mailbox. I wouldn't have gotten hurt, and none of that would have happened if I put the safeguards in my heart beforehand. You see, what happened is David is in a place where he's not supposed to be. And you ask the question, so what is it? It's not hurting anybody. Why can't I do it? David's not hurting anybody. He's just at his house. He's just chilling. But what happens with David, and instead of where he's supposed to be, where he needs to be, he's alone in his room at night with his parents not looking. When he knows that he can look on his phone or he can do something without, he knows he could probably look at some nasty websites or follow that person on Instagram or whatever it might be, look at that picture on Snapchat, whatever it might be, or send that picture on Snapchat, whatever it might be, he can do that and no one will know, so what's the big deal? It's not hurting anybody. So he's there at a place he's not supposed to be, and then he decides to go up to the roof of his mansion there. And what would happen was, in the mid-afternoon, late afternoon, that's when women would take their baths. It was like the cool part of the day. It was before the men got home. The roofs were different. It wasn't like it was like this, and they're like on the side, and they're like waving down at people like, hi. It wasn't like that. It was like there was a private roof, and the only person that could really see was the king, who was on top of a hill looking down. So he knew. He's not dumb. He's sitting on his couch, bored out of his mind. He's like, I think I'll go look at some naked women. Well, you don't think they're going to take a bath in their clothes, do you? So here's the thing. So now he's in a place where he's not supposed to be. Then he listens and gives in a little bit to his sinful life, his sinful heart, and he goes up on top of the roof. But it's okay. He's not doing anything. He's not harming anybody. He's just looking. And then he sees someone he really likes. And it's all right. He's just looking at her, like I can look, but I can't touch, like he's just looking. And then all of a sudden, something happens. Then he gives in even more, because that's what sin does. You don't just dabble in sin and go, okay, I'm good. No, sin drags you in further and further and deeper and deeper. And then he brings the woman to him. They have an affair. She ends up getting pregnant. He ends up getting pregnant, and she's married. I know. It's okay. I'm not hurting anybody. Well, yeah, now you are. So they get married. They don't get married. She gets pregnant. She goes home and gets like, oh, we got a problem. I'm pregnant. So this is what he does. He says, okay, I'll bring your husband back from the war, doing my job, and this was a good warrior, a good man, a good man to him, a faithful man. He comes in there and says, hey, you're doing a great job. Go home. See your wife. Hoping that he's going to go and have sex with his wife. He doesn't. He doesn't go out. He doesn't go there. He says, no, I can't go to my wife right now when my men, my soldiers are in battle. I'm going to be on the doorstep. So that doesn't work. And people know about it at this point. Like, people know. He had someone go get her. So, like, everybody in the castle, they're all talking. Right? They're like, David, man. Bathsheba. And so, long story short, he has him killed. So if he can't get him to go back, and this is a man after God's own heart. He can't be just sleeping with other men's wives. So he has to kill this guy. So he ends up killing this guy. He goes to his commanding armors. Hey, you know this man right here? How about you just take one more step and just let him go into battle by himself? But he'll die. Yeah. Ooh, will he? And he dies, and then he ends up getting married to Bathsheba. And it's after they have the kid, so like 9 months to a year afterwards, that he's convicted of what he's done, and he comes and repents. Here's the thing. If it doesn't hurt anyone, why can't I do it? Is the dumbest reasoning and justification for doing sin. First of all, if you have to sin, or like if you are sinning, or you try to justify it in your mind. If you have to start justifying in your mind something that you want to do, and you're trying to reason with yourself that it's okay, and like you're trying to reason with God that it's okay, probably not okay. That's probably like a sign that it's not okay. So we say this. So what does it matter? Why should I care about this series? Because guys and gals, you live in a sex culture. You cannot turn on a TV show or watch a commercial without there being like some sort of Victoria's Secret commercial, some sort of perfume commercial that shows stuff. Like you can't watch where they berate men, berate women like objects. You can't watch a TV show without seeing like women in bikinis or lingerie or whatever it might be. You can't get on Instagram without seeing it. You can definitely not get on TikTok without seeing it. You can't get away from it. So you need to guard your heart very strongly. So let's go back to this question. If it doesn't hurt anyone, why can't I do it? Well, first of all, there is nothing in the Bible saying if it doesn't hurt anyone, it's not a sin. There's nothing in this book that says if it doesn't hurt anybody, go for it. So that's just a flawed question at the beginning. We use this logic so we can justify us having sexual sin. Why can't I watch porn? It's not hurting anybody. There's a lot of research on here showing that porn destroys your mind, your heart, and your relationships. It gives you a different view of what sex is, and a different view of what a relationship between a man and a girl is, or same-sex relationships. It gives you a different view of that, and it distorts that, and it harms people. Not only your own mind and your own heart, but it also harms your relationships. Guys, from 11 years old to 14 years old, from 11 and 14, over 51%. It's like over 50%, maybe 52, 55% of people have seen porn. They've been introduced to it. And from what I've looked at statistics and done different statistics, there's not much difference between the church statistics and the world statistics anymore. It's pretty average. About 75% of parents think that their kids don't do porn. Of that 75%, over 50% of those kids confess that they do porn. It's a serious drug that can affect you personally, your relationship with others, and your future relationships. It hurts people. Do any research, and you will find that porn and sex trafficking, which is sex slavery, is one and the same. So if you're looking at that type of stuff, or you're supporting that, or you laugh about it with your friends at work, you are supporting the slavery of someone that's like in a sexual slavery. Why can't I fool around with my boyfriend or girlfriend? It's like it's fine. Like they're fine with it. I'm fine with it. Why can't we hold hands? Why can't we kiss? Why can't we say we love each other? Why can't we come together and like just use our words and something like that? And we talked about this last week, but it doesn't. It can hurt us because when you break up, it tears you apart. It can hurt the other person because you might go accidentally too far or whatnot, and you can hurt each other. This happens in any relationship, guys. Even in my relationship with my wife, that's a godly relationship, it's pure, it's holy. You can be one with your wife and husband, and we're married. We can hurt each other because we're sinful people. But and that is a relationship that is built around Jesus. Take Jesus out of it, you're hurting yourself even more. Everybody else is watching that show. What's wrong with it? It's not hurting anyone. Why can't I do it? Everybody else is watching that show. What's wrong with it? There are some nasty shows out there. And I'm not talking about like really bad shows like Game of Thrones that you know that there's going to be nudity. I'm talking about like typical shows, PG-13 shows that like just like a glance, a woman comes in, there's like some sexual tension or whatnot, whatever it might be, and it's this little gateway drug to make you want to watch more. Why can't I wear this? Why can't I, well, it doesn't hurt anybody that I'm wearing this top or these shorts or I'm looking at this person, watching through that, looking through that. Listen, we have lost a lot of, and like if you go to public school or private school, you understand this. The modesty has gone out the window with a lot of people. And they're walking around with like clothes on that I wouldn't want to see anybody wear. Girls, I know that like sometimes when you hear modesty, it always seems like it's pushed towards you and not towards the guys, which seems unfair, which it is. But you have to understand that guys are sinful people and they're picture-oriented. That they always think in pictures. So if you don't want someone lusting after you and thinking inappropriate, don't dress inappropriate. Now, guys are sinful too, and sometimes you know wear a paper bag and cover everything, and they're still going to be nasty, you know. But guys, you can't just lurk and just watch, because that stuff can harm. And the other thing is, I hear this all the time, and I've heard this from married people, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But it's like, well, I can look, but I just can't touch. That's completely against the Bible. That goes in completely against Jesus' teachings, because Jesus teaches that if you lust after a woman, you have committed adultery in your own heart. And lastly, guys, you've got to realize that this is a very dangerous world. Why can't I have this social media or talk to this person that I met or whatnot? Because it's not hurting anybody, but it could be because they could be looking for you and they could be looking to hurt you. There is a lot of stories of innocent girls just trying to do what's right. They get caught up, and that person steals them, and they put it into sex slavery. Guys, I'm serious. There's a reason why your parents they should be looking at your social media or not giving you a phone until to a certain age. There's a reason why they care so much. It's a cruel world. It's a cruel world. And a lot of times we open our doors to it. How many of you like, okay, Mom, Dad, you're going out to a restaurant, okay, be around, you'll be back in 3 hours. All right, just want to let you know that I'm going to just, unlock the door and keep the door open and just put a huge sign that says, I'm home alone. Hey, I'm right here, home alone, the door's open, come on in. Who would do that? No one. That'd be bad. But that's what we do with our phones. We post stuff that might be a little bit inappropriate or whatnot, or we just get on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever it might be, and we're just being ourselves, but we're giving so much information about ourselves, and we're opening up the door, unlocking our door, and say, I'm home alone. You have got to start right now. Even if you're standing here and you have not ever done any of the things that we've talked about, you've been a good person up to this point, you don't even know like half the words that Rick and I have said. You have got to set in your mind right now what you are willing to do and what you are willing not to do. You have got to put a line in the sand and say, I will not pass this point. And this line cannot be something where it's like, okay, well, how far can I get? Because if you're willing to ask the question, how far is sin? How far can I go with someone? Or how far can I go with my phone until it's bad? If you're willing to ask that, you've already crossed the line, and you're willing to cross any lines to get what you want. You've got to decide that you are going to plant your feet and say to yourself, if someone tries to show me something, I'm not going to look. If I am watching a TV show and something inappropriate automatically comes on, because that happens all the time, I'm watching a TV show and I'm like, ah! Like, Mary, come turn this off quickly, please. It's happened before, guys, because you just don't even know anymore. You turn it off. Get it out of there. Watch a description of before you watch something. Maybe it's something at school and your friends are joking about something or they're saying something unclean. And you have got to draw a line in the sand and say, I am not going to participate in this, period. I'm going to live my life differently. Here's a verse that we went over last week really quickly, and I want to restate this. Flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body. But sexually immoral persons sin against his own body. When you're sexually immoral, you're sinning against your own body. Now, I know that there's been some victims. There's victims in the world. They've done nothing to deserve the victimization of someone coming onto them or saying something to them or forcing themselves on someone. And I know that there's hurt and pain to that, but God can heal you. But if we keep on focusing on things and saying, well, that's wrong, but I'm okay watching this. No, you need to fight. It's time for the church to stop being like the world and being sinful pagans and start following Christ. This culture is messed up. This culture is messed up. The world is sinful and messed up. At a certain point in this culture, it was okay to own a person. Then the culture switched, and then it's not like, and then it's okay to look at immoral pictures. It's okay to look at porn. It's all right to abuse someone like that. It's all right to do like the same sex. The culture sways back and forth. And some reason, Christians say, well, that's okay. But the culture, if you look through history, is terribly sinful and hurtful and evil. And Satan has a hold on this ginormous industry. Don't be a part of it. So my last question to you as we finish out this series, and as the band comes up and we get ready to close, here's the question. And if you don't remember anything from tonight, if you don't remember anything from the last 3 weeks, and you're just kind of like, oh, la, 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 I'm not listening, this is really awkward. Remember these two questions. Remember these two questions. Let these two questions rattle in your brain. Where is your heart? Where is your heart today? Have you been guarding it? Have you been letting stuff in? Are you willing to let other people say stuff about you? Do you laugh at the bad jokes? Do you say the bad, horrible things? Do you look at different things? Do you objectify people? Do you wear stuff that makes people objectify you because it makes you feel wanted? Instead of putting that want onto Christ? Where is your heart right now? Is your heart where, you really haven't done anything like this? You're a good person, you're not into any of this stuff, and you're wondering why you're right here. Where is your heart? And the next one is, do you truly care about it? Understanding where your heart is, do you actually truly care about yourself, about your mind, your soul, your heart, your spirit? Do you care? Do you care? So where is your heart? And do you actually care? Are you willing to protect it? To flee from sin? To flee from sexual immorality? We talked about this idea of fleeing is not only finding yourselves in the midst of it and running away, but not even going to that location. Are you ready to let God protect your heart? so that you can have a great and wonderful relationship with him and hopefully your future spouse. Are you willing to flee, protect your heart, and run to God? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for who you are, Lord. I thank you for what you've done. Lord, I just pray for these students in here. And as I have daughters, Lord, and I look at them and I look at how just goofy and young and pure they are, and I think about their lives as they grow up, Lord, and I think about when they get to middle school, God, the evils that are around them that could hurt them. And then I think of my sisters here at church in this room. I think of my brothers here in this room. And Lord, I just pray that you can protect them, Lord. That you could protect them and you could say to them, I don't even want you to go there. Don't even start. And for those who are in it, those who are in sin and aren't being protected but getting beat on and attacked, Lord, and are attacking themselves, I just pray that you can give them the strength, give them a strength to have them flee. Lord, I pray that we can really look at where our hearts are. That we can really try to answer the question, do I care about my heart? About my protection, about the protection of others and my relationships with myself and with others, Lord. Do I care? My relationship with you, do I care, Lord? Lord, I pray today that they can protect their hearts and by using your power. Lord, thank you for who you are. In Jesus' name, amen.